Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this live-wide learning live this Tuesday afternoon. Hopefully, you are sitting very comfortably wherever you are, and welcome to listen to us talk about self-leadership. That will be the topic of the day. My name is Laura Sivula. I work as a business area director responsible for live-wide learning here at Aalto University, and with me I have a very special guest today. I want to introduce to you Lidia Rauramo. She is an educator at Aalto University. She's also an executive coach, and she has a wealth of knowledge and experience in educating students, educating individuals in entrepreneurship and self-leadership themes. Very warm welcome to you, Lidia.
Thank you. Thank you for such a nice introduction, and thanks for having me here.
Good. So today we're gonna delve in a few topics. We're gonna talk about individuals, obviously, since we're talking about self-leadership, but we're also gonna focus on teams and what the role of self-leadership is in how teams work as well. But maybe, Lidia, I think at least I would want to know. I mean, we know each other. We go a while back. Both of us have been at Aalto University for quite a while. But for the audience, maybe you could tell a bit about yourself and how did you find this passion for self-development and educating students in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, sure. So I work in the Aalto Ventures Program, and we are entrepreneurship unit. So back then, we've been teaching entrepreneurship, and big part of the entrepreneurship also was design thinking. And then we found out that there's this amazing methodology how you apply design thinking for your own life. So you as a project, this was one part. And then the second part was many of our students, entrepreneurial-minded students, they were very excited with the topics, with a lot of passion to their ventures. But they work 24 hours per 7, which is not very sustainable in the long run. So we created this course, Good Life Engine, with Johannes Kaira, my colleague. And it was first just for entrepreneurial students. But then COVID happened, and then we start to get all kind of students in our course. So now it's like everyone, business school, arts, engineers, everyone, and then Aalto staff. And then researchers. So it's a very common challenge, the well-being, self-leadership challenges. And actually, that leads me to the question, you running teams, and you have a lot of different hats and different works. So what do you see as a common leadership and employees challenges now for office workers?
That's a very good question, and I think this is quite a universal question when it comes to work life at the moment. Honestly, for me, it feels like the COVID years are like a lifetime, were a lifetime ago. But still, I feel like we see so many things that have kind of escalated from those years onwards, and I think we are really seeing a kind of the pace of work life. It's quite intense. It's really picking up, and we need to find ways to manage it. I mean, we are constantly bombarded with different kind of notifications, meeting invites. We're working in matrix teams, virtual teams, matrix organizations, and so on. So there's a lot on everyone's plate all the time. So I think, first of all, we obviously need good leadership for organizations, and we do need that top to bottom approach in a way that there needs to be strategy, there needs to be vision, there needs to be clarity, there needs to be objectives. And those are the kind of what we are doing. But then in order for us to achieve the how, it's really about the day-to-day activities that happen on a team level and that happen on an individual level. I believe that the kind of performance and how we get to our objectives, it really happens in the team activities. And then if we look at healthy teams, I think quite often healthy teams are actually made up of excellent leaders and self-leaders, really. because it starts from self-leadership. It's very difficult to lead others and lead by example if you're not leading yourself. And I think, well, let's talk a bit about how we see the definition of self-leadership. But I think it starts from very kind of basic things, and for me it starts off with for example, taking ownership of your own work. For me, I see that that's kind of like the purest form of self-leadership.
And can you or your team members take this ownership and independent decisions? Like, probably this is also one of the big aspects that leaders want their team members to be independent in their decision making. That's like spending time to micromanagement. It's not like the goal. So if the people can do that, then they are feeling busy, or the cognitive workload is too big. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think essentially we are talking about this kind of like cognitive workload when we're talking about busy schedules, big objectives, and everything being a high priority. And we're working in quite a complex world with digital and physical coming together. Yeah, I think it really, when we are talking about self-leadership, it comes down to this, how we are kind of like maintaining our cognitive skills. And I see it once again, that's the kind of like purest form of well-being at work, is that we have the kind of balance and the capability to take on new challenges and learn new things. What do you think? What's the kind of role of self-leadership and well-being?
Yeah, there's like notion of chain reaction. It's, for example, someone had a jet lag, and well, we travel a lot for work or something, and then it feels like tiring, and then we come to the team, and then we carry this tiredness to our team members, and then everyone is like also feeling tired, or like kind of there's this tension in the air. So the self-leadership is like how to know what is happening with yourself, like how to monitor, like where I am in this moment, and then what can I do to also prevent like spreading the negativity to the team, but also like if I have a positivity, what can I do to boost the positivity with the team? So it's kind of managing yourself and helping, like avoiding affecting negatively others, but of course also like affecting positively others, like with enthusiasm and like willingness to be productive, or and don't just enjoying the work in that sense. So this is like how I understand the self-leadership, and the chain reactions that then we contaminate other people with our feelings. Would that be emotions, and would that be positive or negative?
I just recently, or not recently, actually today, I read about a research article, actually from Aalto University, by Nina Nurmi and her team. And I think there was quite a nice point of view or notion there, that it's the balance between the team and the individual well-being. So if we focus only on the well-being of individuals, then the team effort kind of suffers. But if we only focus on the kind of well-being of the team, then individuals can feel very burned out because their individual needs are not being met. Have you seen this in action, or do you think that it's all about this balance in the end?
I think, Nina, I also saw this article. I haven't yet time to read it, but I think we've been discussing exactly also today with the team, that for leaders, often it feels like they need to make a sacrifice. Like if you imagine the matrix, from one side you have self, like leader, team, and then from another side you have well-being, and then performance. And then for the leader, he or she needs always to make, okay, do I work more, but then I don't rest. But if I rest, is it like I'm stealing the time from the performance of the whole team? And then he or she has to make the same considerations about the team. So in that sense, getting back to Nina's point, I think it's really important to somehow keep yourself, be aware what is happening with you, but also track what is happening with your team and see where you can help and when.
And I think it's quite like difficult because we are trying to optimize a lot of things all the time, but it's actually, that's something quite difficult to like optimize individual well-being or kind of like team well-being, because it's very personal, isn't it? How you feel on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly, on a monthly basis. I mean, we all have our, bad days, bad weeks, bad months sometimes, and at the same time, we are driving for that performance and for different kinds of objectives. So I think it's, or at least I think it's very necessary that we actually talk about self-leadership and the kind of relationship between self-leadership and well-being. And hey, actually, now I just realized that we have this chat here as well. So I'm looking at the chat and I see that Ida is saying good afternoon, but I don't see any other questions here. So if you might have some questions for Lidia, this is a good opportunity to write them down in the chat, and I will keep my eyes on it as well. But hey, also one of the reasons why we are here today is that we have actually teamed up myself, Lidia, and Kalle Airo to provide you with quite a fantastic course called entrepreneur. That's such a difficult word, isn't it? Entrepreneurial mindset and self-leadership. And this is a very exciting course because you can either go through it individually, or you can actually enroll your team into this course as well. And I think this kind of like team-based learning, team learning is something that we see a lot. Because, and I think this relates to self-leadership in a way that if it's only thinking about that, if one individual kind of learns enough, then, the team will become better. Yes, in certain kind of like skills areas or certain competency areas, but at least I believe that it's extremely important that the team has an opportunity to learn together. And I would personally kind of throw this out there, that one of the biggest kind of organizational development and corporate learning and development trend for this year would be actually focusing on team learning. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, and what I also like with the course that there are a lot of talks about well-being, but the course that we actually crafted together, it's like also how to build on top of the well-being. It's like, okay, what is next? How to maximize your and your team potential, because and why there is this entrepreneurial mindset there, because entrepreneurs, they live in a very hectic and stressful environment, and they need to make decisions like fast, and everything is burning around, and also on the same time manage the team and lead the team, like manage the team, lead the team, and keep this big picture, like, okay, what's the future? And talk with the investors, talk with the clients at the same time. So in that sense, they have a lot of really good lessons how to boost this potential hidden already in each of us for the leaders and for the teams. So I think that's also why I think our course is goes beyond the well-being aspect and builds on top.
Definitely, and I'm coming back to one of my favorite topics on I talked a bit about ownership, and I think one of the best ways to kind of like support and cultivate ownership is through entrepreneurship, and that's one of the reasons why we all need that kind of entrepreneurial mindset. It doesn't mean that we need to work as entrepreneurs or kind of earn our living as entrepreneurs, but I think that entrepreneurship and the mindset, that's one of the key aspects in terms of kind of driving change and success in modern organizations. And it really starts once again from how do you lead yourself and how do you develop an open mindset for challenges and making the challenges into opportunities.
Thank you for this challenges topic and entrepreneurs. What I also like with the entrepreneurs that they are willing to take risks, because and that is also related to independent teams and taking the ownership, because if we actually manage well ourselves and we understand, okay, actually my cognitive workload and load is okay and I can take something more, stress stop to be scary thing. The stress can be positive. The healthy human being needs some stress because we have this inner curiosity for the things we want to explore. That's why we like to read detective stories, because like it's interesting, okay, who is the murderer? Or that's why we like math problems and we're at school, because we need some challenge. But to be able to tackle this challenge, we need to be in a way kind of well. And then we like, if we are well, we'll get this like very well-performing, curious teams who are willing to take steps for like go outside of the box, like be more innovative, because everything is linked together. I think we have questions in the chat.
We do actually. Maybe we can start off with the first question, which is any tips on... No. Actually, I'm going to pick the second question because this was actually on the top of my mind in regards to what you just said. We've got a question here that says, to what extent is work-life balance the responsibility of an individual versus employer? And what I was just thinking of what you were saying previously, that it's actually the organization's responsibility to make sure that there's positive stress rather than negative stress. So taking care of this negative stress in a way of like removing obstacles or removing processes that are somehow in the way of success or whatever it might be, and focus on this kind of like positive stress. And positive stress can be, for example, cultivating a growth mindset.
Yeah.
It can be you can feel nervous about, for example, growth targets, but they should be kind of like positive stress that kind of like builds up on your ambition. And I think this notion of positive and negative stress is quite interesting.
Yeah, and related yet to the same second question, I think there is like this, the organization cannot make the person feel like really good, because there are also other areas we have relationship, we have friendship, we have hobbies, we have like health and so on. But what the organization can do, if like the work-life balance is really bad, or like some practices or like organization culture is like somehow not perfect, then it can make person to feel really bad. So in that sense, like of course it's kind of shared responsibility. We are responsible for ourselves, like because we know the whole variety of the factors that influence our like perception and our feelings. It's not like my employer knows, right? But employer needs to create the frameworks within which we can thrive, and like this grow mindset. And probably also I like the coaching, for example, idea, because the coach doesn't steal the ownership of development and thinking from the person, but more like just support. Let's discover your potential. Let's discover your strength. And then you yourself, you will be on top of that.
I really like that idea, and like how you put it into words, what the role of a coach is. So maybe we should be, in a way, I mean, we've been for a while talking about kind of learning organizations, but maybe we should be talking more about coaching organizations in a way that the organization is, as you said, the kind of framework in which we operate. But what happens within that framework is the kind of responsibility of individuals in a way, and individuals that form teams. Maybe I could ask you also, the other question that we had here was that are there any tips on how to develop self-leadership skills? And I think, Lidia, this is quite specifically this question for you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a big question, and then you can stop me when I will be 10 minutes after. But well, first start with yourself, like learning how you work. What are like your motivators? It's really also good to think about the energy, assuming that you have some storage of the energy, and some things they bring energy to you, some specific activities, but then some things they drain the energy. And like again, personal responsibility is to take care of this energy storage. and understand what should I do to stay energized, like on a daily basis. So this is the first thing. So understand, like, what are your specific energy drainers and gainers? What keeps you motivated? Because we have different motivational factors. We're different people. So some people need a lot of communication because they're very like people, how to say, human, they're very social, but then some need like silent space where they restore, calm down. Like, we just need to know ourselves in that sense. And then, of course, we need to have directions, like goals. This is the next step, because without goals and directions, what happened now with some of probably very curious people, but without goals, they start to jump to many different opportunities because this feels excited, like it's excited, this is excited, and then we take everything, and the time is up, and nothing is like fully completed. It's too much. So how to keep these? How to prioritize? How to choose the few directions which are the core, and probably let others to the better time in the future. So this is the next step, and then like see how you work with others, who can support you, who can. There is this concept of zero sum games and like finite sum games. So if you see our life as a game, like goals that we set as a games. So in some games, we can, if we achieve the result we want, that also helps someone else to achieve the same result. So then you can get support, because if you achieve this, another person also will achieve something. So then it's better. But in other cases, might be that your result might hinder someone else like result. Then you will not get probably support. So it's better to look to the goals, to the first area better. So first, learning yourself, learning the way you work, what is comfortable for you, what is not, and then learning how you work with others and with whom you will feel good to work with. Probably like that in a nutshell. Very quick.
That's a good nutshell. And maybe I would follow up on what you said. You've recently also graduated as an executive coach, and I would maybe want to kind of like specifically ask from you, what do you see that are the biggest self-leadership challenges for people who lead?
I think I didn't met any leader who is not busy. If you will met one, please tell me. And I think the biggest challenge is that, well, the leadership task is to see the big picture, and also to be innovative, because like also to track this moment, and probably the organization, the team, or the product needs a pivot, because like the market situation is changing or something like that. But to really make such difficult decisions, the people need time and information. It's not like, okay, now I decided. But because of all these tasks falling on the leader, it's very difficult to find this time to really sit and think through. And that ends up often in the very fast decisions, which might lead to mistakes. That I think this is really big challenge. So how to really find and and really book this time within your busy calendar, then you can like ground yourself, slow down, and think about the big picture.
I mean, I recognize all of these challenges. I think most of us do recognize this challenge of business. And I'm always intrigued with this kind of idea that actually by kind of like slowing down and doing less, we would become better decision makers in a way that we would have time to dig deeper into the decisions that we are making. And it's also a question about innovativeness. It's about creativity. It's coming up with those new solutions for new challenges. And we need to it's difficult to balance between being a kind of like a decision-making machine and then coming up with like super innovative new business ideas. I mean, it's a challenge. But I also think this kind of this mythical leader. I don't think that kind of person exists. You know, that person who wakes up at 5 a.m. and does the Wim Hof method and then a bit of meditation and then runs a marathon and then reads leadership books and so on. I don't think that kind of mythical leadership hero kind of exists in any ways. So I at least think that it's quite important that we do talk about this self-leadership and many of its kind of like aspects and how it can be very different for different people. At least I think it's very much tied to kind of like your own kind of like deeper needs for motivation, for rest, for balance, for taking care of your cognitive skills and so on. Maybe I would like to ask from you, what are the ways that you, or ways or methods that you use to take care of your kind of like balance and your ability to learn new things?
Routines. Our brain likes routines.
Maybe not my brain.
Probably your brain likes your routines means like uncertainty in many different things. But yeah, I was just saying that routines in terms of like small physical things I do cold shower or cold water if I'm brave enough. And then I do a little meditation. That's basically it in terms of, but that helps me to ground myself. And the meditation also helps because you train your brain to stay focused, which is such a needed skill during the day, because we have monkey brain and like it's monkey mind is start to jump from one to another, like this is interesting, that is interesting, and how to get it back. So meditation helps. And what you do?
I was just thinking that there are maybe different kinds of meditation. For me, the biggest meditation is actually cooking. So really kind of like taking time to prepare ingredients and cut them in a symmetrical way and you know, make everything kind of like with your own hands and from the beginning and really engage in this kind of like slow cooking processes. For me, that's ultimate meditation, but it comes in the kind of like the form of focus.
Yeah,
you focus on something, and there's also a kind of I feel this, I get this kind of sense of structure from, for example, recipes, in a way that there are some like very comforting recipes that whatever happens in the world or in your, you know, work life or something like that, you know that you have those go-to recipes, and if you follow certain steps, the outcome will always and most likely be extremely pleasing and delicious. And that's not always the case in work life, in a way. Sometimes there's a lot of different kind of curveballs. So I guess we have our own ways to find that sense of being grounded, and it can come through many ways. I think we are coming to the end of our Life-Wide Learning Live chat here today. First of all, I want to thank Lidia for joining me here today, and I also want to thank all of you, wherever you are, whether you're sitting at your home office or some other office location. Thank you for joining us, and I really hope that you go and check out our new course on entrepreneurial mindset and self-leadership. And maybe this is also a reminder for yourself to sit down for a moment and think about the ways that you actually take care of your own well-being at work. Thank you very much for joining us, and hope to see you again in these Life-Wide Learning Live sessions.